Well, hello there again, friends. Welcome back to the channel. Grab your cup of coffee and a seat because I'm Paulie and this is Paulie's Power Hour. So here we are, we're back in the garage. Of course, Maxine the Mazda is on jack stands already. And here's my string, as always, my wheel block, safety first. We're gonna knock another thing off the Hunny Do list. All right, I'm kind of slacking about this. We're gonna knock off CV axles today. So first, what is a CV axle? Well, a front wheel drive car has the engine mounted sideways instead of front ways like Kit or the Camaro or Big Mama, right? The Caddy is front wheel drive, has CV axles, but it's still a V8, but mounted sideways. Figure that one out, right? So the CV axle is what transmits the power from the transaxle to the wheel. Boop. All right, CV axle looks a lot like this in a bag. This is the passenger side one, this is the driver's side one. Now, what goes bad? I'll show you. So, here's your CV axle right here, right? And this one is the passenger side one. It's the longer of the two, and it goes into this other axle here, right? I'm only replacing this part because this is the part where, let's see if I can get up in there so you can see it. If not, we'll just have to wait until... So, a lot of times what happens is there's a split in this boot, like that. And all the grease flings out, it gets everywhere. And when that happens, the joint, the CV joint, has slop in it, like this. That's not good. You don't want that to happen, right? That causes vibration, and it clicks and makes all kinds of weird noises when you turn. And it's just, you don't want that to happen, folks. So you see there's a fair amount of play in this one. This boot here is the one that's split. Get the camera around here so you can see it maybe. I will just wait till the wheel's off, and then we'll slide over here. This one here, oh, there, it's perfect. Look at that right there. See the boot's torn? And all the grease is out of it. So I bet you if I grab this one, it'll wiggle, wiggle. Oh yeah, see that, how it goes back and forth? And there's up and down play too. We don't want that, folks. Estas no bueno, as the French would say. My axles don't wiggle, wiggle. They fold or spin. I don't know, I'll come up with something later, but that's what's wrong. That's the next thing to fix on Maxine the Mazda. So let's unbox our parts and see what we got. Alright, so here's what we got. We got two axles. We got our passenger side one. This goes into that extra axle, or that extension that comes out of the transaxle. And then we got a driver's side one. Now, this is probably the most common thing you're going to come across. And if you look closely, you're going to see that there's a little like snap ring here. Now, when you push this into the transaxle, okay, this is going to compress. And when it gets to a spot past the splines, it's going to spring out. And that's what's going to help retain this in place. Ultimately, what retains it is the pressure between the spindle and transaxle. But this helps, keeps it from walking out. And I'm assuming that there is a similar thing on the inside of the other one. I'm fully expecting this axle on the other side. When I take the old one out, I'm fully expecting this one to come apart while it comes out. It's just usually the nature of the beast, unfortunately. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna do passenger side first because I think that one's a little worse with the up and down play, and I'm curious to see how this joint works. So I'm gonna get the tire off and go from there. All right, so here's what we're looking at. We got the axle nut here, and then you can see the axle goes back. Obviously, we're gonna have to take the brakes off. I'm just gonna zip off the whole caliper mount And we're going to hang it from the strut with a piece of wire coat hanger. And then we have to zip off the ball joint for the lower ball joint, separate that down, and then we can pull this out, push the axle through, separate the axle, installation opposite removal. I'm going to use an impact because why not? I've got it. I have the wheel turned towards me so I can fit my impact in here. And yeah, so here we go. Now you can see as I pull, you see how that wants to separate? That's no good. This axle's really bad, so again, we do have to take off the tie rod. Flat spot here, here's where we want to hammer from. So now it comes down to having to separate the axle from the spindle here. And yeah. Alright, so here's the old one. Got it out with a hammer. As you can see, it's not good. Here's a new one. I'm going to put some grease in the hole where the splines are and stick it on in there. Now, installation opposite removal. Everything's better with lube.
Oh yeah, man. You have lube, you spin it.
Aside from the tire, this side is done. Cool. So in the interest of time, I started taking the other side apart and I was pulling the axle out, and that happened. It kind of definitely separated. It was bad. Bad. And I had to go and buy, where'd it go? So I had to go and buy this. My local auto parts store had it. It was 20 bucks. I could sit here and try and pry on it, but you can't really get in there, and I'm on jack. If I was on a lift and I had my big ass pry bar, it'd be easier to do, but I'm in the garage on jack stands, and this was 20 bucks. So I'm just gonna use it. I might return it, I might keep it. You see the axles a lot on other cars too, so. All right, I got the tool around the axle. Now you just take the slide here. comes right out. Makes a mess all over the floor. New one goes right in. All right, so hands are washed, tools are put away, kit's back in the garage, lug nuts are torqued, the axle shafts are torqued, and I knocked the little tabs in. So let's take it for a test drive and see if we still have that vibration and all that clicking and popping, all that crappy noise. Oh man, this is so much better. Still needs an alignment, and eventually she's gonna need 2 front tires, but there's no popping, no clicking. When I give it the sauce, the wheel is nice and straight. Well, all right, so it's a little cockeyed because the car does need an alignment. But before, the wheel would be like on camera, you could see it visibly going back and forth, back and forth. But this is nice and smooth. Yeah. All right, so we can cross this off the Hunny Do list. Hell yeah. And there you go, folks. With that, I'm gonna close the door on that project. Perfect. We can cross that. All right, so there's the Hunny Do list. CV axles crossed up. There you go. It's really not that bad. I mean, you gotta take the spindle off and everything, but it's really not that hard, as you can see. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So there you go. If you need help doing it, that's basically the roadmap to do it, right? Just make sure that you use the tools, you be careful, you don't hurt yourself, and you'll be fine. So with that, I'd like you guys to like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff that keeps the channel moving, keeps things pumping. All right, and be nice to each other. And you guys keep it between the ditches and you come back and see me.